Well, the transfer window is starting to gain some momentum now, and that means that lovely feeling of optimism that something is building ahead of a new season. I have just recorded a full transfer update on the whole of the Championship, but here is a clip of a few selected clubs that I'm quite optimistic about ahead of next season. Norwich City. I'm going to be as bold as to say I am the most excited about what has happened so far if I were a Norwich fan. I like what they've done so far, with the gigantic caveat that they're probably going to have to sell one or two of Sargent, Sainz and Nunes. But it looks like they're already prepping for that and they're accepting that. And Norwich have traded really well over the years, haven't they? You know, they sell at a really high ticket price. People trust the players that they're going to get from Norwich, negotiate well, you know, have contracts set out so they can maximise value. They're just a pretty good example since that first Stuart Webber run where, okay, he was blessed with the youngsters, Aarons, Lewis and Godfrey, who they made a fortune on, didn't they? And who's the winger? Cantwell as well. But they made some brilliant signings as well. When you know, I think if you sign Buendia and Pookie and that's all the deals you do for the next 5 years, say, you're onto a winner there with those two. Extraordinary window there. And they've kind of managed to ride it out over years and years now. I know they're without the parachute payments now, but still, I think they get the back end of the Johnny Rowe payment from Marseille. And yeah, they're going to make a lot of money out of Sargent, Sainz, Nunes, whoever is sold. And Liam Manning's in, which is a good managerial hire in my humble opinion. Goalkeeper situation needs sorting. That was Angus Gunn and who was the reserve guy? Who didn't do well, did he? The Millwall guy, Long. But Grimshaw has come in. So has Molden. Not sure they've already got the first choice goalkeeper there. I think they're just stocking up there and there'll be one more. Darling, I think, is a great signing on a free. Jacob Wright is a 19-year-old who's come through the Man City Academy for a couple of million, it says 2.7 million euros. So I would imagine that even though you might lose Sargent, who's just guaranteed goals at Championship level, possibly Sainz, who in the autumn last year, I think we would all agree that was the best performing player in the whole division, wasn't he? I think there could be some exciting incomings as well at Norwich. They should be able to sign a few, given what I've just said, for decent money and have no issues there with PSR because they're a well-run club, Norwich. So, could be interesting. Looked like they could challenge the playoffs at times last season. I think that might be more tangible this season if the window pans out how I expect it might, and if Liam Manning, who should be an upgrade on Johannes Hoth Torap. Let's start with Swansea, where I think there's a little bit of cause for excitement here. I know it's been a kind of slow death by 1,000 cuts since Swansea have been relegated, and gradually things have just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk, haven't they, in terms of asset base and star players and whatnot. And obviously, playoff semi-defeat under Cooper. Where was Graham Potter? He was like 11th or something, wasn't he? Playoff final defeat under Cooper as well. And, you know, then the parachute payments are gone and we move into this new era where a few things have been tried out. And Luke Williams out towards the end of, or maybe 2/3 through last season. And Alan Sheehan came in. They did finish strongly. Is Alan Sheehan going to be a good manager, or is he just one of those guys that picks it up as a caretaker, gets it moving, and then ultimately doesn't work long term? I don't know. We're going to find out next season. But they've been moving, haven't they? I know Harry Darling has gone out, and that's on a free as well. That'd be quite painful because I think they paid good money for him. But Cameron Burgess, obviously I love from my Ipswich Town point of view. Ricardo Santos, I've seen play for Bolton, is massive. And how do I say this politely? If he's put in a situation to accentuate his strengths and hide his weaknesses, he's a good centre-back. Just don't expect him to be knocking it about. Although he was working with Ian Evatt at Bolton, wasn't he? So maybe it'll be good. Maybe I'm being unfair to Santos. I just found him a bit erratic when I saw him in League One a couple of seasons ago watching Ipswich. Bobby Wales in. But what about this? Zidane Inusa says €6 million here that Swans have dropped on a 23-year-old left winger. And we've obviously had a few kind of bit similar to Millwall exotic signings coming in over the last couple of transfer windows. So, look, if Sheehan works out and this window is anything to go by, that they're dropping money, then it could be fun for Swans. Could they make a move from 11th up towards those playoffs once again? We shall see. Derby. What are Derby going to do under John Eustace? I mean, the first word will be improve, because I think he's really good. And he's been really good at every club he's been at in the Championship. They're heavily linked with Carlton Morris, which I think would be a really good signing, wouldn't it? I'm smiling as I say it. I think Morris and Eustace might work well. I mean, he's a right whinger, isn't he, Morris, when you see him play? But he's horrible to play against, big and strong, and gets his elbows in and scores goals. Plenty for Luton, not maybe last season, but in the promotion season and in the Premier League as well. Plenty going out, but this feels like just clearing the decks of the players that got them up from League One with Paul Warne and some survivors there. Bradley, Mendes-Lang, Barkhuizen, Fornar, Washington, Luthra, Hendrick, Peters, Roof, all out. So I think there should be some money, and I think they should be able to do something. And remember, they spent a bit after Cashin went out, didn't they, on Scandinavian centre-back whose name I'm forgetting. So he should be of interest as well. And I'd be optimistic if I was a Derby fan. I think it could be a fun window. And I think they're going to finish higher than 19th next season. Especially if Morris is the first one in the door and it's a couple of £1 million. That sends out a good signal of, okay, here we go, Derby. Here we go. Speaking of here we go, Preston are having a whale of a time this window. We thought the levy was going to finally break for North End last season, and they cascaded down the table, didn't they? Great run in the FA Cup. Was that distracting? Is that a cliche? I don't know, but they could have gone down. And in fact, I predicted on the last day of the season that they would go down, that Bristol City would beat them and results would go the other way. But they got a really good draw, didn't they, at Bristol City? And they survived. And I tell you what, we've mentioned new eras and new teams. It feels like Sam always jokes about it on the Check-In podcast, that Preston, we've kind of known for about 3 years what most of the team is going to be. But out already, Ledson, Stewart, Best, Woodman, who was a real mainstay stalwart, Bauer, Taylor. Reese is an interesting one because I think there's a player in there, but obviously his race is run at Preston. I think he'll get picked up by another Championship team. We'll see if he scores goals. We'll see if he scores against Preston next season for another Championship team. There you go. There's a bold prediction. But already 5 in, which is they are the biggest movers so far. They haven't spent anything on fees yet. Obviously, be signing on fees and whatnot. But 4 free transfers and the loan signing. Thierry Small, which I like. When we were previewing League One playoffs last year, Sam picked him out as a tricky player. I think like left-footed right back or something. Nathan Jones had him. Charlton fans will know better, but definitely something there. Paul Valentin played sort of right back, or we see him get put right midfield in terms of in front of a right back by Danny Roll there. And look, players that have worked under Danny Roll, he's going to come from Sheffield Wednesday, have been well coached, haven't they? We know that, and Valentin knows the league. Dan Iverson, that's a good signing. He was at Preston before on loan from Leicester, so he knows the club, he knows the level. He'll slot straight in, I have no doubts about that. Jordan Thompson, again, I don't want to be unkind to Preston here. It's very Preston, isn't it? It's no thrills, players who know what they're doing and know the level. You look for the special sauce. Can you see it? I don't know. But those 4 definitely. Is the special sauce, though, Dan Jebison, who will be very well known to Paul Heckingbottom, who probably gave him his debut, did he? at Sheffield United pass. Fact check me on that one. But I remember Jebison being massively highly rated, and didn't he score a goal when he was super young in the Premier League for the Blades? 21, on loan from Bournemouth. Can this guy put it together now? Can he do it? I want to see Dan Jebison start over 40 games for Preston. I want Paul Heckingbottom to say, right, mate, you've been around now. It's time. Let's do this. Let's go. I'm going to play you every week. You're my guy. You're my key striker. Score me some goals. Can he get 10? 15? Can he get 20 goals if he plays all season at Preston? I don't know. But we are getting a new team here that it feels like the Alex Neil, Ryan Lowe. We can go back to Alex Neil with a few of those players. Ryan Lowe era is ending and the Paul Heckingbottom era is beginning. And can Preston, and I apologise Preston fans for saying it, but it does feel like a sense of purgatory and boredom a little bit. I've had it under Marcus Evans at Ipswich where you're just in the middle and you don't do a lot. And it's like, where's our star player? Can we do what Coventry did and bring a couple of stars through and all of a sudden have some money to spend for PSR and all of that? But yeah, they've made a move, Preston, for sure.